Done. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening, Gaetana. This is an evening with Gaetana from the Fringe of Marin Short Play Virtual Festival. This is our first annual virtual festival, meaning annual means we're going to do this again, believe it or not. It's been really fun. It really has been. It's a lot of work. It's a mammoth production. It's a mammoth project. But I have so many wonderful people, and we're so very lucky at the Fringe of Marin. We have these wonderful, talented people and technicians and all sorts of things. Theater is taking leaps and bounds, especially in the technical front. And it's really great for actors too. And directors, it's been a challenge, but we're going to talk all about that this evening. I would love to introduce Ron Leeson and Pamela Rand are our panelists this evening with Gaetana. And this evening is really, hi Ron, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself in just 1 second. This is really, Gaetana is a treasure. I mean, she's just a treasure. When I met with her in San Francisco on last Saturday, I mean, we've been talking about this for 6 months and or longer. And we decided to have the kickoff of the virtual festival with this evening for Gaetana. We were going to do it on Valentine's Day, but then we decided to do it now. So hi, Leslie. Leslie Clore is joining us. So Ron, would you please introduce yourself, please? We'd love to hear a little bit of your background and your relationship with Gaetana. That would be wonderful.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
I've been working in physical theater since 1974 here in San Francisco, and directing, teaching, acting, writing, and I'm trained in the Decru technique. And in my experience of teaching, one of my fabulous students that's been with me forever is Gaetana. And Gaetana, I don't even remember when we started working together. Do you remember your first class?
Yes, I do, sort of. But you know, I had another teacher before you, this guy named Robert Brown.
Oh,
I don't know if you remember him. Yeah, and they had a studio in South Park, in a warehouse in South Park. And so then they moved to the Goodman building off Van Ness, behind Tommy's Joint. And then he and his lady moved to New York. And I said, before they were moving, I said, well, who am I going to go? I want to keep this up. Who am I going to teach? Who's going to be my teacher? And that's when he mentioned you. And he said, you have to find Ron. And then I was invited to this party and you were there. And I don't think I said anything. Oh, maybe I did, because I think I had to ask you about where your classes were held and all that stuff. And so that's how we got started. I got handed off to Ron, basically. And it was so much fun. It really, really was. A lot of work. He drove us, man. It was like, torturous sometimes, holding postures. But I mean, all that did me a lot of good, perfecting my quote unquote techniques, such as it is. And, so yeah. And then I worked with Ron and Callie Kahn, who was a friend of his, a really good close friend. And we did shows together, like at the Houseboat in Sausalito and at Studio Eremos. We did our pieces. I did my pieces, and Ron and Callie did theirs. And I think we had couple of other people. But that was very interesting and fun. All these different locations that we did our work in, and then there was this place on Page Street not behind the library, but behind some big building. you know, Page Street Theater. Was that Page Street Theater? Yeah, we did shows there.
Haight-Ashbury Theater Workshop.
Yes, right. Haight-Ashbury Theater Workshop. Absolutely, yeah.
What
Are you
years?
saying
was this?
something, Gina?
Yeah, I'm asking what
Probably
years
the late
was
70s, or probably the
The what?
mid to late 70s.
okay. I was, mime. I remember mime going to the cannery. Remember the cannery and in San
Yeah.
Francisco and all these places in San Francisco. When anyone would come to town, we'd always bring them to San Francisco. And I would what was it? Shields, the married couple.
Robert Shields and Linda Yarnell.
Did you know them?
No, I did
Okay,
not
that
know
was a
them.
different.
But you know who else I forgot to mention the other day was Toad the mime. She
Oh,
was
that's right. You did. I think you did mention.
No, I did not, because I remembered it when I got home. I took a class from her as well, and she was running us through the Alexander technique or something. Anyway, but
Alexander.
and it was very interesting, and she was very self-effacing person, and but I'd gone to a few of her performances, and then she had a weekend class out at her place on 25th Avenue.
You
Now,
remember
where
the first street that you performed? Did street mime on? Do you remember what street it was?
Toad?
No,
I don't
you.
Oh, moi?
Yeah.
Oh, I
Ah,
did
Luke.
at the BART station at 16th and Mission.
Oh, you knew that. You remembered.
So
Yeah.
we have a
And all-
picture. We
Yeah,
have a
and-
picture of the BART station,
Oh, let's
but
see.
we're not going to show that right now.
All right.
But we'll show it in a little while. We have it in our album. We have it in our
Okay.
Gaetana
And then
album.
I performed after I did just some performance in Union Square, but that was Robert Shields' territory, so I kind of
Oh,
did mime on the streets that bordered Union Square, like on Post Street. And that's where I got accosted by this guy that said if I didn't talk, he was going to kill me.
No.
He
Did
was
you
very
tell them all?
serious, right
Did
in
you
my
use the F
face.
word?
Yeah. What?
Did you use the F word and tell them off?
No, I couldn't speak. I
Oh,
didn't pay
no.
any attention. He was literally in my face, and I
Oh,
didn't. I
God,
just
that's
didn't.
terrible.
And he kept saying, "I know you can talk. I know you talk. Why don't you talk to me?"
Oh my gosh.
And then Doug came along and walked by, and I just said, "Oh," I didn't say anything. I just waved to Doug. He turned around, looked at Doug, and then he just went away because Doug was kind of a big guy, and he was like, "Whoa." You're not gonna
now
mess
that's a
with
perfect segue into the play we're doing, Silence Interrupted, where you play a mime and Leslie Clore is playing Maggie, who she doesn't threaten to kill you. She wants to kill her husband, but she doesn't want to kill you. But anyway, we're going to look at that in a few moments.
Yeah, she wants advice.
I did want to, you brought something up, and I wanted to ask you, when that type of thing happens, what do? You just, obviously it's just like theater, you stay in character, but
Yes. Yeah, but
it
like
must
I
be
said,
difficult.
yeah, but like I said, Doug was there with me, standing off to the side, my youngest son, and
Right.
so he kind of walked up to me, but not really close, and then I think he just looked at the guy, and then the guy just left, But I was kind of like a little afraid to go back to that same spot.
I bet. So you
So I
each
just
had
found it-
you each had your own territory, your own stage, all the mimes and the street performers.
Well, yeah, 'cause
It's
we
kind
didn't
of
want
an
to infringe.
unspoken.
Yeah, we didn't want to infringe on other people's.
So you don't want
territory,
to compete or conflict with other people. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is that nobody wanted to do mime in the heart of the Mission, like
Okay.
the 16th and Mission BART station with all kinds of people, But one thing I really loved was that kids were just mesmerized. Even when I would do rehearsals in Glen Park, I'd go there and rehearse.
Mhm.
These kids would come by and they would just sit on the grass and just watch me,
Hmm.
and I just thought that was wonderful that they were so well. I felt like really good. I must be really good to capture their attention like that. Like, who is this woman, doing those crazy moves?
Oh my gosh, I bet.
Yeah, but it
I
was,
bet.
but it made me feel good that I could do that and engage children, because they were all like almost teenagers to early teens, so it takes a lot to get their attention, believe me.
Ron, did
And then
you also
at the
do? Ron, did,
BART station, these mothers would come by with their toddlers, and they would just sit on the copings and and just sit there and watch, bring their lunches and whatever, and just sit there and watch. And I loved it.
Ron, did you do a street mime also?
No, I never did street mime. I was always in a theater, in a space, yes. And mostly street mime is pantomime blanche.
Wait, I
And-
yes.
Um, we and my colleagues were doing other stuff with the mime, which is a much bigger umbrella
Mhm.
than just the illusionary work and all that.
There you go.
Okay, so thank you, Ron. So Alana, Alana, sorry. Gaetana, do you want to explain this picture? What's going on here?
Well, here I did mime at a show in some theater, small theater on Van Ness. It was upstairs over some other store. And I did a takeoff on Marlene Dietrich's album of songs, her famous songs. And one of them was Lily Marlene. And so I this is my costume for Lily Marlene. And then I showed you the one that I did for Falling in Love Again.
Again,
with
yeah.
with
And
that
you
doll.
had made a blow up boyfriend, or what was
No,
that?
it wasn't a blow up boyfriend.
It looked
was
like it. It looked like
Yeah, it was made of, like stuffed. It was a puppet. It was a puppet, not a blow up. It was a puppet, and the head was made of paper mache. And then I worked it so I had like a hole in the back of his jacket so I could stick my arm through into my glove and hold him, and hold his hand and stuff.
Oh, I see. I see.
And then we danced to Falling in Love Again.
Again.
And at the end of the piece, that's the stool that I had in my set, in the picture where Marlene Dietrich has her foot on it.
I
And
see.
so at the end of Falling in Love Again, I fell over backwards on that stool.
Can you demonstrate for us?
Sure.
Well, she is going to do a little bit of mime when we start the play.
Not
we have
too
about a
much.
10-minute play,
It's
a short
very
play.
limiting. It's very limiting to try to
Yeah,
do anything.
no, I know. We're
big
gonna see
on
from-
Zoom.
Like we're all doing right now, from the shoulders up kind of a thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Nice.
we're going to show another picture in just a moment, but I do want to get into, and this is probably a good time, your involvement with Annette Loost at Dominican University.
Oh, yes. Annette Luce came up to me when I was doing mime in Union Square. And she's, because I finished a piece, I was ready to go home, and she just came up to me and said, "Who are you?" And so I explained who I was and what I was doing. And that time I was taking lessons from Ron. And then she told me that she had taken mime with Etienne Decroux in France. And she was laughing, and she said, he told me to look for another job or do something else. It really like blew her away because she thought she was pretty good. And then I took a week-long seminar with his son, Etienne Decrew at
I see.
Boulder, Colorado, University of
I
Philadelphia,
think you mean
Pennsylvania.
Maximilian. Maximilian. I think.
Maximilian Decrew, yes. That's who I took lessons from. A week-long seminar with Etienne. I mean, not
And then
Etienne,
eventually-
Maximilian.
Eventually, you got into the theater, the Fringe of Marin, the Dominican Players with Annette.
Yeah, with
Started
Annette,
out as
I mean,
Dominican Players, and
because
then it went
I'm a writer, basically. You know,
Okay.
I've written all my life.
right.
And I was
Right.
always in my head. The way I explained how I got into mime was I felt I was too cerebral and I wanted to do something where I could use my entire body. And I think I told you that that's when I saw a flyer when I was standing in line for unemployment. I saw a flyer for mime classes and it had this beautiful Aubrey, you know, who's that artist? Aubrey somebody or other. And it was just a still like maid leaning up against a tree instead of your typical Marcel Marceau, you know, pose.
Mhm.
And it
Yeah.
was so beautiful. And so I called him up. And that was Robert Brown and his girlfriend. Yeah, so that's how I got involved in mime. And
And then you taught some classes, or you were involved in some of the classes at Dominican with mime.
well, yeah, I taught mime at Dominican. And
Mhm.
oh, those pictures were taken by this guy named Jim Hendricks, who was Jim Hendrickson. He was a
Wonderful
Vietnam
picture.
War veteran. He got his arms blown off
Oh,
by you know, and he had like prosthetic those hooky things. But he was a photographer, and he lived in the. I don't know how on earth I met him.
they're wonderful pictures. I just fell in love with them the moment I saw them. I think they're
Yeah, he took those pictures of me.
yeah, just
Wow.
wonderful.
Thank you.
Great.
But anyway, so Annette, so I got to know him, Annette, and then I was writing, like I said, and I was writing short stories, and people would read them and say, "This sounds like a play. Why don't you write this into a play?" And then, so I did. I wrote one play, because I was always writing monologues for myself that I performed, and so I had never done a multi-character play before, and so I turned that short story into a play. And so Annette asked me once if I had any plays, because I was doing monologues through Dominican players. And I said, yeah, I just, you know, wrote this. So I sent it to her and she accepted it. But I told you that the lead character in it was this woman who picked up older men on the street. I mean, she and she met with all these women friends at a coffee shop. Every morning they'd have coffee. And they were intrigued by her because she was a single woman, a divorcee, and she and they were just appalled that because they would spy on her, and they would see her going up to cars. You know, men in cars would slow down and start talking to her, and she'd walk up to these cars and she'd get in these cars with these guys.
Ah,
And they would say, "What are you doing? You know, how could you do that?" And then she'd say, "Well, I'm old and I'm retired and I'm postmenopausal, so why not?" You know. But nobody wanted to do that part because you know it was. So I performed. I did that. I did the part. I acted the part, and then I had every play I wrote, short play, Annette took it on, you know, and produced it. And on Saturday night, we're going to do a play that won all kinds of awards at the Fringe of Marin, and that's Peas Porridge, about post-apocalyptic San
oh, I
Francisco.
know. That's coming up on the
Yeah.
15th, May 15th,
Yeah,
on the
Saturday.
Fringe night.
Saturday.
There are
Yeah.
all the plays about on the Fringe, being on the
Yeah.
Fringe.
Yeah. So that was my involvement with Annette, and I worked with her till the week before she died. You know, I was in rehearsal or into a discussion about
Yeah, we all
the
were. We
season
all were.
coming
Yeah.
up. Yeah, and so she had a mild stroke, and before that, and then she appeared at this meeting that we had, to decide what we wanted to do for the season coming up. And then a week later, she was dead, of a massive stroke. And that's when you, Gina, you took it over.
And Pamela, remember that? Remember that
remember.
project?
Pamela, I didn't.
They tried to get Annette to
Yeah, I
slow
didn't-
down in the hospital after she
Yeah,
had a
oh,
stroke,
forget
Oh,
it.
you
but
did.
she wouldn't slow down. She kept
Impossible.
sending
No,
emails.
I know. She,
Go.
yeah,
It's like she wouldn't let her brain.
she was
rest.
on the.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So we do have another picture that we're going to bring up, but Pamela, you were involved in mime too.
well, I was on the
And-
opposite end of Ron. I was a student of Jacques Lecoq in the 60s. So Lecoq, who and his wife, Fay Lecoq, they both have passed. Although the school still exists, and so I say the opposite because we were always in competition. Oh, you're yeah, with Ducroux, but I am Lecoq. I'm with Lecoq. So we did not learn formal mime as you did. We did not do one movement 1,000 times. We studied, the school is movement, mime, and theater. So the emphasis was really on movement. We did a lot of work with clown, finding your inner clown, the clown within. And Lecoq's favorite or well-known expression is tout bouge, which means everything moves. So he was very much, as you know, Ron, I'm sure. Did you ever take a workshop or anything with Lecoq?
I never studied with Lecoq, but I have studied with the students.
Okay.
And one in particular that worked with both Ducroux and Lecoq. And even though Lecoq and Ducroux hated each other, I
They
thought,
say that, but I don't believe it. Because they like to say that Marcel Marceau and Lecoq also hated each other, but it wasn't true. They were colleagues that probably met in the bar all the time because Lecoq was a bon vivant. I mean, he could put it away.
Right.
So I can't believe they really, that was kind of the, that's what we say, right? Well, because I think Ducroux was a purist. He was a real
Oh,
purist.
absolutely. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
Lecoq was not in that sense. He came from physical, he was a physical therapy person, was an athlete, worked in athletics, and was fascinated with movement. He also worked at the L'École des Beaux-Arts with young architects. He taught them movement in structure. It's quite an interesting fellow. Passed too early, but many do. Yeah, sorry. So those were great years. I remember in France during the Revolution, Leonard Pitt and I were the only two Americans in French theater. Usually they wouldn't cast two Americans, but we actually were in the same play together. That was a lot of fun. Not Alice in Wonderland, but Alice Behind the Mirror or something.
Oh, Alice Through the Looking Glass.
That's right. À travers that's it. Oui, c'est ça.
Through the mirror, same thing.
And that was a lot of fun. So quite wonderful years. Voilà. Tu parles
All
français,
right.
Ron? Parles français? Parlez français? Ron, parlez français?
no.
No. Okay. That doesn't matter. No. That's my story. Mon histoire.
Thank you, Pamela. That's great. We do have a couple photographs that we're trying to pull up of, is it Laughing Sal or, oh, there we go.
Yeah,
I
There it
remember
is.
her
Mad
Thank you.
Sal.
from
And
the
the-
Playland at the beach, right?
Yeah, yes. And all I did was stand on the stage and laugh. And then I had a soundtrack. I had a soundtrack of my laughter. And the audience, when I first started out laughing, just standing there doing all the Mad Sal movements, how she moved.
Yes.
And people would just, it was absolute silence. And then little by little, you'd hear
Wow.
people start laughing. And then by the end, the whole audience was just breaking up and laughing. So
Oh, that's great. Did you have a padded costume or did you just
absolutely, I made a
yourself?
fat dress. I
Oh.
made a fat dress.
I
A
think
fat dress.
even your legs are padded.
Well, that's what she looked like. I remember her very well. You know, and see, that whole thing is gone. Even the Cliff House is gone now, right?
Yeah, but there, I mean, they didn't do anything to it. Somebody else, they have to do a contract with
Right, right.
the National Recreation Area or the beach, Ocean Beach, whatever. And somebody will move in and,
Somebody said
restart
Taco
it as a
Bell.
different, under new ownership, because the Hontalleses, who also owned Louis, up the hill,
Yes.
they ran the Cliff House, which I didn't know until recently.
Oh,
But I went to school with one of their relatives, Pete Hontalles.
oh, that's wonderful.
And the Louis was started the year I was born,
Wow.
So I was like, oh yeah, I have a real connection with this.
Wow.
And then the Cliff House was very expensive and absolutely gorgeous.
I remember.
And so I would take friends there. If somebody did something for me, and I'd say, I can either pay you or I can take you to dinner at the Cliff House. They go, oh, take me to dinner at the Cliff House. So that's what I would do,
Yeah,
Maybe
like
like-
now we're having to say, like Pamela just said, I remember. Oh, I remember, because Cliff House is gone.
Well,
But
it'll come back.
Sal
And
is
so will Louis,
Sal is somewhere in some museum, I've heard. Have you?
Oh, really?
They've preserved her. Do you know that, Gaetana?
Yeah, she's around somewhere.
Somewhere, yeah.
Yeah. And this other picture is me doing Pierrot Lunaire to an arrangement by Cleo Lane, who sang, I don't know if it was in a foreign language, it might have been in French, I'm not sure. But it was just a passage from the whole Pierre Lunaire suite. And it was just like about 20 minutes of the passage from that. And
Now,
I
where
had,
did you
Go
get
ahead.
that costume?
well, I made the white part, and then this friend of mine gave me that, what do you call it? Catholics, anybody? The chalice or the thingy, that the robe
Yeah,
thing.
that's what it looks like to me. Yeah.
Well, it's authentic.
Like a prayer.
And so
call, a
Where
prayer
did
call?
where did this
Well,
person
I will
get
tell
something
you, because I told, all my friends knew what I was doing, and I told them I was doing this piece called Pierre Lunaire, what it was about. So he saw me one day and he goes, oh, I have something for you. And he pulled out this bag and he just pulled out that thing, the authentic, thing that priests wear. And I said, where on earth did you rip it off of some church or something? And he said, oh no, he said, I found it in the middle of the street. And I went, yeah, okay, fine. Yeah, sure. Why not? So, but it was like, I'm sure I don't know where on earth he got it, but surely he didn't find it in the middle of the street.
Never know.
Yeah, he might have. I don't know.
So
And
this
this is-
photograph was a piece that you did dedicated to.
Oh, this was like dedication for the Hiroshima Nagasaki bombing. It's
Wow.
called White Dance. Well, actually, this is just the first Japanese impressionistic piece that I did to original shakuhachi Japanese bamboo flute. In fact, shakuhachi is the name of the flute. So if I say shakuhachi bamboo flute, I'm being redundant.
I see.
Shakuhachi solos. And I did, and the title for this,
Great picture.
translated to English, is Cranes in the Nest. And that's it. But the
What's it called?
Cranes in the Nest.
Cranes in the nest.
Yeah, but it had,
Wow.
I knew the Japanese name, but I can't remember it right now.
I see.
That's a great picture.
So all the photographs that you saw are of that, that piece with the white mask that I made. In fact, I learned how to make masks through I think Leonard Pitt and Barry Rolfe.
I
taught
remember
me.
Barry.
We need to
Lecoq-
talk about Barry because we have
Yeah.
some letters here that you.
Barry went to Lecoq School. She was a colleague. She graduated before I did, and I saw her in Berkeley a few times. Do you remember
Yeah,
her,
well-
Barry?
I knew Barry. She was wonderful.
Yes,
Yes.
he was.
Yes. And
Yeah,
we
we were
went to,
hoping you
remember
would
we
talk
went
to us about Barry, Ron, and Gaetana.
Well, we went to Leonard Pitt threw a 70th birthday party for her at his place in Berkeley, remember?
I
And you were there with
I was traveling.
Callie.
I was traveling. then.
Yeah, and Barry, of course, was there because it was in her honor. But yeah, and Barry had written a couple of books on mime, and I had read lots of books on movement theater and mime, and then one of them that I had that I brought to a lecture demonstration that Annette and I were doing, and this person came up to me and said, "Where did you get that book?" Because it was like an unusual, little known,
Right.
out of print book that I found in a used bookstore.
Uh-huh.
And it was this movement guy, this mime or movement theater person. He was totally unknown, but he was beautiful, and they had lots of pictures of his work and stuff. And they said, "Where did you get that book?" And I told him, and he said, "I'll buy it from you. How much do you want for it?" And I said, "I'm not selling it." Period, So, and then Agna Enters, who was, I don't know if you guys ever heard of her, but she did mime in full character costumes on the stages in New York. And she did all her own publicity, and she managed to get bookings in all these, huge theaters in New York. So I read all her stuff. I mean, she was so inspirational, and then Nijinsky. I mean, everybody that was in, of course, Isadora Duncan, it just let me, just told me that I could just be free and do what I wanted, And I did that same thing. I didn't care how much it cost me because I would book my own theaters and set up my own shows and stuff. And then Ron was the what were you, the director of Cloud 9 Theater? What was that? Venue 9 Theater for a while.
Yeah. I don't
On
remember.
9th Avenue, 9th Street.
Where was that? Where was that? In San
In
Francisco?
the Mission, Venue 9 in the Mission. And Ron did the booking for that theater.
What?
Yeah.
Mary Alice Fry. She did Venue.
Oh yeah, Mary Alice Fry. Yes,
Before-
she ran that theater. And Ron ended up being the cast person, the bookie. But yeah, so yeah, I performed like a Venue 9 and there was one called Climate Theater, wasn't there? One called Climate. And and this picture here this is the one I did to commemorate the Nagasaki Hiroshima bombing. And I did it at the exact time that the bomb went off.
Yeah.
And I did it in Golden Gate Park. And also this woman that I knew from work let me do a salon performance in her apartment one evening. And yeah, so that was the movement to that, like you didn't want to see it. It was so horrible. And then the piece is done to this wild composition by this bizarre composer called Edgar Varese. And then the last piece is when I just take off my black costume and I'm all in white. And I just turn my back to the audience and then raise my arms up to the sky like my spirit has been released. And it was to that guy Aaron Copland's Fanfare for the Common Man. I just turned around, took off the black, let it slip down, took off the headdress, and all in white, just the
And you
common
told
man.
me the Japanese, I know you're going to yell at me when I mispronounce it, but impressionist.
Yes,
Okay.
impressionistic dance. Because I
Dance.
didn't, because I knew a
What
lot
music?
of Japanese
What,
people, that do kabuki and, and traditional Japanese movement theater. They didn't want to hear, me
what
taking
music
on
did,
it was so they're my impressions, my Japanese dance impressions.
As an activist, because you were an activist, right?
you are an
A
activist?
mime
Yeah.
activist.
Totally.
Oh,
totally.
wow.
That's courageous. Very
Yes,
don't
courageous.
I
know.
was. I am.
I don't know if we can talk about that, her activism, because we're on live television, but we'll try. I have a recording of it on
I
my
thought it was a
phone.
free country. What do you
Me
mean?
interviewing her about that, and I thought, I don't know if we're going to be able to use this.
Really?
Anyway, we'll probably get to that. I'm not sure.
Well,
if
I
we'll-
mean, for well, why not talk about Hiroshima and Nagasaki?
I'm sorry, what?
Free country, no?
What did she say? What?
Why
He
can't
said, why not
we
talk
talk
about
about
Hiroshima and
Oh, no, exactly. Why not do it in an art form, talking about it as you did?
No,
So I
that's-
just have to tell you that last week we met, Gaetana and I met at San Francisco at the Garden House Cafe. It's on Clement Street. I do have the address. I just wanted to give them
It's
a little shout out.
32nd and Clement, 32nd Avenue. It's
The Garden House Cafe.
3117.
Yes, it's a lovely place. And we sat out in the garden. And so we were talking about all of this. And Gaetana had brought her portfolio, and she showed me, we got to the Hiroshima piece, and she told me all about it. I did want to ask you about the music you used for the impressionistic movement, but let me finish with this story first.
Okay, sure.
So anyway, all the while we were talking about this first segment, there was two women talking very lightly in the background, and I was recording it on my phone. Not their conversation, our conversation, but anyway. And then the other woman got up. So we finished. It was about a 10-minute segment thing, and then we finished, and the woman that was still there got up and introduced herself, and then we took a picture with her. We had a beautiful conversation with her, and we were showing her the pictures. She was Japanese, and she had overheard our conversation about the movement. I mean, there's theater all over the place. Like Shakespeare said, the world is a stage, and it's so true. I mean, here we're sitting here talking about theater, talking about mime, and then we meet this wonderful woman. Her name is Yuki, and I hope she's tuning in. We told her, we told her the name Fringe of Marin and how to connect on YouTube. So I hope you're watching, you and your friends, and hope you've had a nice week, and hope you have a nice evening. I'm glad you came and introduced yourself to us. That was wonderful. So what kind of music did you use for your Japanese impressionistic movement?
I used traditional Japanese classical music, and for white
You told
dance,
me there was a special composer, though. There was a special.
Yeah, I can't think of his name right now, but he did a whole. I just love the man, because he did Coral Island and Ron did the narration for Coral Island, and then I was invited to do mime at the International Mime Festival in Philadelphia, and so I did Coral Island there. I told Annette about it, and I sent her. I think I just sent her a tape of the piece with Ron's narration. And she said, well, just do it. She trusted me to just go ahead and do it, at the festival. And so that's what I did. So, and they recorded it, back then when they had those like video recorders, and some people were recording it, but they were from Germany. So in Germany, there's a tape of it floating around somewhere in Germany. But do you remember that, Ron, when you did the narration for that guy's for Coral Island.
Oh, I remember the piece. I love that.
Yeah,
I love the soundtrack.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I loved your costume work. We worked on that. We worked on the choreography.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. And I did all my own costumes always.
Okay, I think we're going to take a look at the short play by Pat Marin. She is a wonderful playwright. She's written many things for the Fringe of Marin and actually all over the Bay Area. She's very involved in PCSF, Playwrights Center of San Francisco. Shout out to Playwrights of San Francisco. Center of San Francisco. So the play is called Silence Interrupted. Keep in mind, Gaetana's story, these things do happen out there in the entertainment world on, in the cities and sidewalk stages of the community. Sometimes people will come up, make conversation. I always think about, what are they, the door soldiers, like it, that can't, that have a straight face, the ones in England, they have to stand by the palaces. And, they can't talk.
Oh,
The
yeah.
guards. Thank you for the word guards. I can't think of the word guards.
The doormen.
The doormen.
Yeah.
People.
The door people.
But they have,
The door
they
person.
can't be interrupted, right? So this is Silence Interrupted. And we can watch you put your mask on. Gaetana's not going to be using makeup. She's going to be using a mask. Is that
And
what
I
you
made all my own masks too.
So you made this mask too, right?
Yeah.
Tell Maggie that her sound is off. She needs.
Okay, there she is. Good.
Can you
Thank
hear
you.
us? Can you hear us now?
Leslie Clore is going to be playing Maggie. And, ooh, Gaetana, you look wonderful.
I'm going to,
Oh.
Even better with my
We
glasses
got
on.
Brian, our stage manager. I'm asking you, should we all turn off our cameras, right? And I'll turn off my microphone. I'll stop talking.
Ron, do you know how to turn off your camera?
Do you want to turn your camera off, Ron, or you want to stay on with us?
Oh, I'll turn it off.
Okay, we'll be back on in just a moment. This is Pat Marin's play, Silence Interrupted, and actors whenever you're ready.
He said the town square, and he's late. He's always late. He better show up. Have you seen my husband? He's a tall guy with a mustache and a beard and kind of thin. Listen, you can talk to me. No one's around. Do you know what happened to me today? Oh, well, the board of my company is trying to force me out. How's that for a bummer? CEO of Never Ending Love for 25 years. That's an internet dating service right here in town. And the board says that my marketing strategy has not brought in enough business. I don't know what to do about it. It's the economy. The market's down. Gold's down. Military spending is up. Drones are up. Crime's up. Oh. And privacy invasions are also up. No wonder dating is down. If you can't trust the internet with information, not to mention with possible terrorists lurking, then dating services are done. They're kaput. Oh, gosh. Oh, where is he? It's not okay if I'm late, but it's fine if he's late. He better show up. That's all I have to say. He knows I stormed out of the board meeting and I need to talk to him. He's someone that really knows the business, and I want him to be here for me tonight. Oh, men, more than half of my board are men. Does your guy help you out and stick up for you? You too? Oh, God, they can be horrible. Mine has decided not to spend as much time with me as he used to. Oh. no. Oh, holy shit. My husband is leaving me. He said he'd talk to me, but there's no talking to me. What the hell? On a text, no less. Coward. I can't believe it. Oh my God. Just when I need him. So much for never-ending love. I knew something was wrong when he brought me cheap assorted chocolates for Valentine's Day, and not dark chocolate supremes, and no card. But divorce? Huh. No discussion, no couples counseling where we could scream at each other for an hour. Nothing. Just look, here's what it says. I no longer love you and I'm leaving you. I talk to you, but there is no talking to you. Most of my belongings are out of the house. He waited for this important board meeting to move out. What a jerk. I can't believe this is happening. Oh, God, what am I going to do? How am I going to handle all of this? And I have to be back to the board meeting in 2 hours. Oh, wow. All this alone. I could just shoot the jerk. God, it's too dramatic. Poison would be a much better option. No, that might be too painful. But why should I care? Painful would be good. Oh, God, I can't believe this day. Maybe I'll push him off the train platform. He hated the train anyway, and people will think that he jumped. Yes, what a great idea. He's such a coward. I can hardly wait to push him off the platform. Oh, my goodness. Oh, how could he do this to me? I don't understand. Oh, no. Oh, well, I don't know. What?
No, you can't do that. Sorry. Oh, shoot. Sorry.
What is this? Where is this coming from?
Well, you can't push him off the platform. That's murder. Murder.
I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do. Oh, no.
Wait. That's not the answer. That is not the answer. Think of something else. No. No matter how bad your relationship is with your husband and the problems you have with men and the board, death is not the answer. We need to talk about this. We need to look at what's happened to you today. We need to look at other possibilities.
Listen.
You can't do it, period.
I was just
No.
venting.
No, but listen. Your heart and mind need to stay open to other options. Divorce is not the end of the world. You've had a horrible day. I feel so bad for you. But you can't murder someone. And there are other ways to deal with your board.
No, listen to me. You got the wrong idea. I'm not going to push my husband off the train platform. How gross. Plus, everyone would see me do it. It just felt so good when I said it. Big time good. But I could never kill another person. Yeah, today was a bitch. The worst day I've had in many years. That I have to admit. I started never-ending love. Never-ending love. I can't believe it. Look who it got me. A husband I was married to for 7 years. 7 years. And he announces in a text that he's leaving me.
So you weren't really going to kill him.
Well, I was seriously thinking about it for a few minutes. I was venting. But then I thought about running away when this was all over, and I felt instantly better.
A mime, listen, a mime detaching from their role is a very serious infraction of the rules. I broke out to help save you from what I thought could be a murder attempt. I broke out of my character. Mimes act out stories through body motions without the use of speech. I like reflecting people's emotions in silence, not getting personally involved.
Well, hey, I'm sorry, really, but I did have a shit day and I was so distraught. But thank you for jumping out of your silence for me. You're a very good mime, by the way. I would never be quiet for longer than 5 minutes. And even that's a strain. My husband said he could never get a word in edgewise. When I'm at a board meeting and people are quiet, I just jump in. Wait, you said there was another way I could deal with my problems. How so?
Silence. When my partner and I talk, I always wait after I ask a question, even if there's no answer. An answer always comes eventually. Patience. And I always listen before I speak.
Mm.
Ask the board about the marketing strategy and let them all answer before you jump in and answer for them. Invite your husband to talk and let him answer before you jump in. But I'm a mime. This is the most I've spoken to a spectator ever.
Well, maybe you should jump out of your silence more often. You made some really good points. Thank you. And I think I might have a job for you. You could make some money. Wait, how much do you make as a mime now?
It varies. During tourist time, a good amount. Now, not so much. Generally, not bad.
Listen, would you be interested in coming to my off-site team building workshop next month and create an exercise where silence is golden? Well, that is if I still have a job.
Not really.
Yeah, but I would write a presentation for you and introduce you, and then you could just come in as a mime. It might be fun. You could make some good money. People would learn about the value of silence. What do you say?
No. I like my life here on the different street corners throughout the city. I like my silence.
Yeah, but it's when you jumped out of your silence that you helped me.
That's true. Oh, here comes some tourists. Nice meeting you. Good luck and all that stuff. Good luck.
Well, I will listen to what you said and I'm going to practice it. First with the board, but with my husband, not going to happen with him because I'm going to scream when I see him. Here's a business card in your hat. Call me if you change your mind. It might be worth it. You could make good money.
Well, good luck with your husband and board members.
The end.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, my goodness me.
All right.
That suits you very well, Gaetana.
Listen, Gaetana, have you ever done that? Have you ever broken your silence, even when someone threatened to kill you?
Never. No, I don't.
You know what she said?
Ever, ever, ever.
She almost got
Ever,
killed.
ever. It's
Nope.
kind of like one of those oaths, huh?
It's kind of
Well,
like
I mean, it's your craft, you know.
the
I'm
show must go on kind of thing.
dedicated to my craft.
Well, think about actors too. You know, I mean, sets have
Well,
fallen
yeah,
down
you
on.
don't break character when something happens, you know.
Who is the famous comic actor, Pamela? Buster Keaton, I think. One of the famous things about him was in one of the silent movies, the whole house frame fell down, but
Oh, I
it was part of
remember
his
that.
act. It wasn't an accident. But in the doorway, he happened to be standing in the doorway when the whole thing fell down.
I remember that. Yes, I've seen that.
But you're
Well,
never
at
supposed to break
one
character,
point,
right?
yeah,
Right,
when I
Ron?
was, yeah. Well, I just want to mention, like when I was in Golden Gate Park and I was doing a mime show for Arts in the Park, and I had the stage was one of those, where the marble staircases come down and there's a platform, it's all white. And my son Terrence had put up my Soji screen, like the one you have behind you,
Yeah.
Gina.
Yeah.
He had put that up behind me, and then this wind came along and blew it down. And it fell, right beside me. And I didn't react at all. I just went on with my piece. And the whole
Yeah.
audience, you could
You
hear him
just-
go, ah! Because it looked like it was going to fall right on me, But I just, I would have worked with it if it did.
You would have, I know.
Somehow. Oh man.
Yeah, you
But I
just
love
keep
it.
going. You keep going on. The show must go on.
Yeah, I don't, things like that don't even cross your mind, because I mean, I had a whole bunch of people in front of me watching, and so, and that's always, people in Golden Gate Park, people come by. It was a free art show where there was paintings and performances all over the whole concourse, in front
Right.
of yeah.
Yeah.
So, and they just walk around and stop and watch you. It
That's
was
right.
fun.
So, Gaetana, I've worked with you for quite a few years and read a lot of plays, directed some of your plays. You really try to use is the not a good word, but I'm going to say it. You use the theater as a platform sometimes for your activism. Like I'm thinking about one of the plays we haven't got on stage yet, but we've rehearsed it a few times. We've read through it many times, and that I know Leslie read through it once when we had a reading of it. Finney and Wallace.
Oh, Wallace and Finney in Cloud Cuckoo Land.
Mhm.
Cloud Cuckoo Land.
Yeah.
And so something like that, as well as many of your other plays, even Peace Porridge, which
Yeah.
we're going to show Friday night. We're not going to show it. We're performing it live. Here I'm talking like it's a recording. Don't want to do that. Don't
Like
want
we
to.
have
This is all
theater.
live. So can you tell us a little bit about that? Because theater is a really good, well, so many different art forms are a great way to.
Yeah, well, Wallace and Finney, I kind of got the idea, and because there's people that live in gated communities, and they're very, very wealthy, and they, like, in fact, I knew some very, very rich people who lived on Telegraph Hill in this mansion, and everything was wrong with it. I mean, the ceiling was falling down, the plumbing didn't work. It was just, and I said, why don't you have all this stuff fixed? And they said, well, we could do it ourselves. And I said, well, why don't you? And they go, we don't know how, And I said, well, hire somebody. But they said, well, we're looking into it. But I mean, they were rich people, and yet this place was falling down all around them. I couldn't, So anyway, Wallace and Finney is about this very, very wealthy couple that live in a mansion, and they never had to do anything for themselves.
Mhm.
Anything, not even make coffee or pull curtains. And so, they wake up one morning, and the wife comes into the bedroom, and she looks around and she goes, did Sergio pull your curtains this morning? And the man goes, her husband goes, no, where is everybody? And she says, well, I'm waiting for my coffee. Where's my coffee? I want my coffee. And it turns out that all their servants have bailed. bailed, and they have no idea what happened. And so little by little, they realize that they don't know shit, excuse me, about what's going on, and so they're fumbling their way around their place, and then they hear on the news, they turn on the TV, and they just hear on the news, that there's been an insurrection or something, and that someone has taken over the TV stations and the radio stations. And then they, all the servants left to go back to home, their families, because, why not? Because they wanted to protect their families and forget about these rich people, But anyway.
Well, in some ways, when we talked about this night, you're incomparable and prolific, because in a way it is a little prolific as far as think about all the people during the pandemic that were just caught by surprise, including myself. I'm not just pointing fingers at other people. So, what did one do? I mean, you couldn't have people come in. You couldn't have plumbers come in. You couldn't have electricians. So there are times when what you say in this play, there are times. I mean, it's a realistic kind of a thing to look at. We don't think about it, but.
Well, I waited, like my wall heater in my front room broke down right around this March, a year and a half ago, March. And then, then the shutdown of the city, masks, everybody was dying of COVID. So I couldn't have the guy come in and fix it. So just now today, for the last week, he's been, little by little trying to reinstall my heater. But I didn't want anybody to come in my place,
Right. Ron, maybe you can comment on this as well. Mime and theater is a way of, putting forth some sort of not a statement, a way that people can possibly just think about things, in their own way. They can process it in their own way. They don't have to have something forced down them. You know what I mean? What I'm saying? What do you think about that, Gaetana, Ron?
You have the form of agitprop, which is very proselytizing and trying to give you a message.
Yeah.
And you have more open-ended plays like Bertolt Brecht's plays that are more of a dialectic, where you're having conflicting ideas engage and they just play themselves out. And the audience is left to make up their own minds. And that's the kind of theater that I enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're left to make up your own minds.
So living in the question, kind of.
I'm
living
sorry.
in the.
What would that be? Kind of living in the question.
I see what you're saying.
The thing, they leave the whole thing. You live in the question, so you're finding your own answers.
After watching Mother Courage, and you're seeing the complexity of all the systems that have to come into play, that especially somebody like Brecht is so good at being able to display, and you look at the world differently, and you start questioning, well, how am I?
Living in the question. That's what I meant. That's what I meant. You live in the question, kind of philosophically. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's something to be said in living in the question. I mean, sometimes you don't want to live in the question. You want to have more security. You want
answers. A lot of people want answers.
A lot of answers. And is that real?
No, there are no answers. There are
no answers, but people think they'd like to have them because that would make them more secure, right?
Sure. Yes. Everybody wants to feel secure.
Right.
Absolutely.
But thank you for that, Ron. That's really good to think about, because it makes a lot of sense.
Thought-provoking.
Example of not leaving you with any answers or any nice closure of an ending are Beckett's short pieces.
Oh, right. I just love Beckett. I just really.
Waiting for
Waiting for
Godot.
Godot. I was just
Yeah,
gonna say,
waiting for Godot,
yeah.
That's right.
Boy, talk about leaving you with a question. Living in a question.
I'm sorry, say that again?
With Waiting for Godot, living.
Does anybody remember UNESCO's plays?
Yes, the chalk circle and
That was
Rhinoceros.
the theater of the absurd.
Right. Theater of the
Yes.
Absurd.
Samuel Beckett was the grandfather of it all.
Right.
yeah.
Critics said,
And
Godot, when he reviewed it, was saying it's a play where nothing happens twice.
yeah, nothing happens twice.
You know, since you brought that up, I'm going to bring up a movie, which there's nothing wrong with movies. They're wonderful. And the fabulous Nomadland,
I haven't
where
seen it yet.
critics are going, nothing happened. Nothing happened in that movie, but so much does happen, you know?
Yeah.
I
I
mean, you
haven't
can't
seen
explain-
that
I
yet.
can't
I want
explain
to
it.
see it. I want to see it.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, I will.
But again, so nothing happens twice, huh? Well, so I think it's what you said. You can leave it up to yourself. You know, those are, I mean, I'm not saying any playwright or screenplay writer or whatever, a screenwriter is, you know, I'm not pitting them against each other or comparing them. I'm just saying that I think what you said is true, Ron, is it's kind of, it's not a responsibility. It's kind of, it's a good thing when you leave it up to people to think what they're going to think rather than convincing them or trying to, what was the word you used?
Proselytize.
Yeah, right.
Or
Because,
leave them in a comfort zone. That's also not
Yeah,
that.
well, you know,
and art, that's what art is supposed to do.
Not
ahead,
leave them in a
Gaetana, I'm
comfort
sorry.
zone.
but you know what? A lot of people do not like plays or movies that don't have an ending, you know, where everything is all nice and wrapped up.
Comforting.
solved and-
Comfort zone. Right.
yeah, the comfort. But I like plays and movies that, and I write plays like that, that kind of end on a kind of a magical, like what happened or what's going to happen or what's going, you know, type of thing. Is this up in the air? And you know, it influences me a lot is, and Ron, you and I talked about this a lot, was like, you know, chaos theory and physics where, I mean, when you, like right now, you know, there was a marvelous article in the New Yorker about the United States government and other governments, you know, world leaders are finally coming around to believing that there are other civilizations out there, you know. And the article is based on this book by this woman, Leslie Kean, where she did tons of research and interviews and everything. And she's a physicist, and she's a marvelously brilliant woman. And the article is so convincing. And then she has had interviews with people in the military, you know, pilots and, you know, Air Force captains and all this stuff, and governments that agree with her, but everyone's afraid to say anything.
Mhm.
And so I think I mentioned the article because I want everyone to read it. It's in the May 10th issue of the
Write
New
it
Yorker.
down.
Yes, read it because it'll just, because you then, after you finish reading it, you go, why not? And then I ended my post by saying it took centuries for people to believe that the earth is not the center of the universe, that the earth and all these planets revolve around the sun. And so why not, you know, just believe that there's something else out there? And we might not even, I mean, in our lifetime, we might not, you know, even find out or anything about it. But if in future generations, but anyway, But I mean, what I was starting to say is I love that no answer concept, because I've studied Tibetan Buddhism and Japanese theater and all kinds of stuff where, like, if you listen to Japanese music, it's like not, or Asian music or compositions by people other than the Judeo-Christian thingy, that they don't sound like they have a beginning, a middle, and an end. They just sort of like they're there. And I like that, and especially chaos theory. So that's where I
So
kind
I'm
of
thinking of your piece, The Sign, about the
yeah.
cult.
Yeah, well, it was a religious thing, a religious evangelical Christians that get together and they all live in the same house, and they go out and witness for Jesus, and they try to bring people into believing in Jesus and joining their practice, you know.
But see, even that is like Ron. Have you ever seen Gaetana's play? The
Uh,
Sign?
Did you ever see
I
I've
haven't
only seen the monologue she's done with it.
speaking work at all. Only
no,
seeing mimetic stuff.
yeah, I know. I don't think
Okay.
Ron's seen any of my plays.
But see, there's a way, like she does in her play, where you're saying, like, Waiting for Godot. Well, there's not a statement, but in a way, there's no statement in Gaetana's play, that play, because, or really any of hers, because you're still left with keeping it up to yourself. There is a point. There is a point. It's not like Waiting for Godot, where there is a point as well, but it's an underneath point, right?
Well,
what I'm
there kind of is an ending, kind of a resolution, in that she ends up going back to the practice after leaving it, and going back to her ex-husband, who dyes her hair and tries to make her look young and all that stuff. And she's given up her Christianity to be with him. And then she
I see.
realizes that he's trying to change her back to what she was, 30 years ago or something.
Wow.
And because, I mean, this really happened to my sister, and because he had taken a bunch of photographs of her, and so she showed them to me, and I said, Dee Dee, these are very beautiful, but all the pictures, they never show your face. He had taken all these photographs with her either very definitely almost profile or with her back turned. And because he didn't want anybody to see how old she was. And they were the same age, it was like 30 years since they broke up, and he wanted her back, and he left her for her best friend. So, she had carried this torch all these years. And then she became a fundamentalist Christian and joined this group,
Have you ever had anyone come up from the audience or got a note from someone or about how it affected them so profoundly, one of your plays or one of your pieces you were in or you directed?
I don't remember.
Okay.
No,
Honest
I
answer.
really don't. I mean, I could, if I thought about it for a while, I could probably.
Yeah. Okay. I should have given you that for food of thought in advance, but
Yeah.
that would be interesting. How about you, Ron? Have you ever had a profound piece that you've worked on that or done?
I did a solo show called Night Watch Alcatraz.
I loved that. Yes, I saw it. Yeah, it was wonderful.
And that was based on my experiences of being a night watchman on Alcatraz. And
Wow.
the response, well, basically what happened was the job was, and it was the perfect actor's job because actors are broke and they're always looking for day jobs. This is a great. But I'd catch the 3 o'clock boat out to Alcatraz, and I would land on the pier, and all the rangers and all the tourists, they'd all pile on to the boat, and we would all leave, and I'd be waving bye-bye. And I was left there for the next 18 hours by myself.
Wow.
And I did that for, 6, 7 years.
It was wonderful. I loved that piece. Yeah.
And the responses that I get from, the audience and the people that have seen the piece was much more like a Rorschach, where you show that blob of ink and people go, oh, I know what that is. That reminds me of these experiences. Well, that's pretty much what that show was for them because it was so evocative. There's so much metaphors, analogies, and atmosphere, and all of that great stuff just coming into play. Impressionistic, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
So that was great fun.
Yeah. But I mean, it was really spooky because he would go down, I mean, from the monologue that I saw him do, like going into all these different cells and stuff, and it'd be pitch black. And you started hallucinating sometimes, right?
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it was really bizarre. I mean, I just loved it. And yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, hopefully we'll have an On the Fringe night again, and you can perform that piece in On the Fringe night. Sounds like it's an On the Fringe night kind of a piece.
It is totally on the fringe. Who spends 18 hours in the dark in a prison?
No, I'm not going to be spending 18 hours in the dark in a prison. I can guarantee that. What I do want to say is, Gaetana, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, thank you so much for making this festival so very special.
Welcome.
Thank you so much
well,
from
thank you
everyone.
for setting it up, geez. And for
No,
doing
but
this.
you've brought so much wonderful art and pieces, and you're so very, very, very versatile. And you've given us so much, and you continue to give us so much. Never stop.
Yeah, well, I just had another play accepted by the PCSF for their playoffs. That will be in July.
In July? Okay, we'll definitely look for that.
And I did the piece for another festival that PCSF did in 2006. And it's about this woman that gets in her automated car, and it's all like Alexa or Siri, where would you like to go today?
Oh wow, yeah.
This Hal-like voice.
Good. Can't wait for that one.
I want to go to the pavilion, the HP pavilion, and hear Neil Diamond. Why do you want to go there?
Listen, you've given me the greatest opportunity, which you usually always do, to bring up, and this was not planned, to bring up tomorrow night. You're talking about artificial intelligence. Well, we have a piece you would not believe it's going to close our evening tomorrow night. It's called Unplugged, and it is written by Marcia Roberts, who's done a lot of work with PCSF as well.
Yeah.
In fact, all of her plays, or not all of her plays, four of her plays.
Seven, I think. Seven.
She has 7 plays in the festival.
Mm-hmm.
But 4 are going to be performed tomorrow night. So we're calling it a night of Marcia. Everyone in probably
and I'm acting
all
in
of our generation, maybe my generation, know about the Marcia thing. In fact, everybody does. There's been so many reruns of it. Anyway, so the final play in tomorrow night is Unplugged, and it is basically about technology, artificial intelligence, kind of stuff like that. So that's a wonderful play. We have 4 fantastic plays. The Rent, so we all kind of can think of where we're going on that play. We have brilliant monologue that's going to be performed. And we're also going to have
Candy Thief.
Candy Thief. Gaetana's
Oh,
in Candy
yes.
Thief.
And so is Leslie.
Talk about, it's not really activism, but talk about a current subject, Alzheimer's, that is brought through theater. I mean, and it's so beautifully done. In fact, it is a full play that we watched at PCSF. They had a reading of it, and it was so phenomenal. It's still in the end stages of being the full play. I think she's still not workshopping it anymore. It's gone through all of those processes. So it's pretty close to being on stage. Anyway, there's a snippet of it in Candy Thief, and it's really great. And then Unplugged. So those are the 4 plays tomorrow night. Everyone tune in.
They didn't hurt us. There's a monologue. They didn't hurt us.
Yeah, I said a brilliant monologue. They didn't
sorry.
hurt us.
Okay.
So there's 3 plays and a monologue. Good point. So a monologue and 3 plays tomorrow night.
7:30. Starts at 7:30.
Starts at 7:30 on YouTube, the YouTube link. If you need the guide, the Fringe and Marin Virtual Short Play Festival guide.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to do another Facebook blast and send out email blasts. And I think Marin TV is doing some advertising. So, okay, we have about 5 more minutes. Believe it or not, the evening flew by for me anyway. And I hope everyone enjoyed it. So Gaetana, you're amazing. What would everybody like to close with? I'm going to kind of...
Well, I'm just going to plug my play for Saturday night, Peace
I think
Porridge.
that's a fabulous idea.
Yeah, Peace Porridge, about these 2 women that all of a sudden wake up from something that happened in San Francisco that destroyed it, like the earthquake. Only it's heavier than that. It's either like they can't figure out what happened, but they come to down because they went down to downtown San Francisco to go shopping, and they end up being knocked out unconscious, and they come to, and all around them is just total rubble and smoke and horrible. They're just torn up and filthy, and just their ears are ringing. They have headache. What happened? They don't know what happened. Helicopters are flying around. Everything is dark. There's no lights, no cars, nothing. And they they don't know what happened. And the whole premise is based on people that feel secure because they have emergency supplies in their homes or in the trunk of their car. But here these 2 women are downtown. They didn't want to drive downtown because it's just too hectic. So they go down there, but one of the characters drove up to visit her sister, and in her trunk, she has a carload of emergency supplies. A lot of good they do now in the situation they're in. So take it from there.
So that's on the Fringe night. We have
That's
4
the
plays
15th
on
Saturday night.
Pamela has a show, a play performing that night too.
Which one is that, Pamela?
It's
Seats.
Miracle on Memory Lane.
Oh, that's right. That's another one by Marsha.
Sorry, that's not on the 15th. That's on the 15th.
That's on Sunday, senior
So
matinee.
it's 2 that I directed Marsha Roberts plays. One is called Number 57, very amusing play about a woman dating and looking. She's got a whole list. She has to date 65 people, and she's and that night she's interviewing number 57. It's very
57 varieties.
And the other one
so
is
that's on the Fringe night, yeah.
Right, and then the other one is Seats 32A and B by Marsha Roberts. And that's with Ellen Brooks, who was my partner in Adventures in Feeling Young, our YouTube sketches. And that's a very amusing, also very kind of esoteric play that happens on an airplane, seats A and B.
So
Ah,
on
Good
the
woman
Fringe
night
night
over
on the 15th, tomorrow night is Marsha. And that'll be at 7:30, both of those, the 14th and the 15th. Sunday, we have a senior matinee, special senior matinee.
That's
3:30 it starts. And we have 4 plays that are senior situation plays. They have some senior issues, senior situations in them. But
is that the night Candy Thief is on?
everybody goes through
Oh,
this, doesn't
Candy?
matter what age.
Candy?
Yeah, Candy Thief, Memory Lane, Miracle on Memory Lane, Eye Exam, and Pamela
Dating game.
Dating Game. Right, Gaetana? Gaetana, you're in Dating Game. You and Leslie. Leslie will come back and join us on Sunday and is in those. So
Okay.
anyway, Ron, it was so great meeting you. I've heard
Likewise,
a lot
Ron.
about you. Yeah. Yeah. So
Meeting
we're
you.
going to have some conversations again. Okay. I love it. Whoa, what are you doing?
I'm
What's
doing
up?
some mime to say.
Yeah, we're going to get cut off.
He's a
in
pure
second.
mime. You guys are pure mimes. I'm just a cock student.
We have 2 more minutes. I was told
Ryan.
by our
Are you in a
fabulous.
box?
No, I'm trying to get
Listen,
out.
I was told by our fabulous technical staff, Brian,
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Thank you,
Bisbee,
Thank you,
Alana.
Brian.
Appreciate that.
Alana, thank you so much.
thank you so much. They won't come on, I'm sure. They never
Oh,
do.
their voices. Brian, Alana.
They're
Can you hear
the
your
techie
voices?
people. They're the techie people.
Hello?
They never show up.
Anyway,
They're always
Brian
There you
and
go.
Alana. Hello.
Brian
Hello, I'm here.
Just a ghost. He's one of Gaetana's ghosts.
told me you can have no dead airtime.
No dead
No,
air time.
no.
Okay.
No blank airtime. So we did really good.
I'll tell a joke. Are we still having blank airtime?
You have 60 seconds.
That's not enough for a joke. Oh, okay. We'll talk
Oh, come
school.
on, Pamela.
Okay, but I used to do clowns on Voyage. We used to, like you, doing mime on the streets. We traveled throughout France doing clown numbers on the streets. And we
fun.
got
Fun.
Oh,
angry
wow.
people, laughing people, kicking us people. It was pretty wild because we were talking and they were coming at us, especially the kids. When you wore a red nose, they were, they wanted to take that
Oh,
off.
they were mean kids.
We went to
mean
Germany, boy, they were mean in
Oh,
Germany.
they cut us off. Okay. I
Little
wanted to thank
Nazis.
everybody for tuning in.
Little
but
Nazis.
Thank you. Are we
All
going?
right, we'll see everybody tomorrow. Listen, Ron, you're fantastic. Wouldn't it be fun to have these conversations? When we started getting into waiting for Godot and
Well,
life.
I literally have not seen Ron in like 40 years or something.
Oh my gosh.
I
Yeah.
know.
Were you a blonde or a redhead, Ron? 40 years ago.
He was a blonde. Blonde.
Blonde. So were
Yeah.
you, weren't you? Oh no, you had dark hair.
Moi? No, I had dark hair.
Dark hair.
Well,
like in your-
no,
And
but
Brian
I
is still
had been like this color hair since I was in my late 20s.
What
Oh,
did you
he's still
think?
there. Aren't we off, Brian, though?
Yeah, we're off.
The YouTube's still running, but the Marin's TV's off.
Hi. Thank you for coming, everybody, on YouTube.
Yes,
I
thank
forgot
you,
about that.
whoever's
We're
out
trying
there.
to do
Thank
4
you.
things at once. I was telling Ron this. We're trying to be live on YouTube. We're on Zoom webinar, and what else are we trying to do?
We're
We're
live
in-
streaming.
We're in TV, but not anymore. I mean, not now.
This is
So
on
that's a whole
YouTube.
different thing. Anyway.
And
it's
then Gianna Lebret says, thank you for a great show. Bye, Nana. Love Gianna.
Oh, Gianna, that's my granddaughter.
Oh, wonderful.
Gianna, thank you so much for coming. That's Rourke's daughter.
hear you
Rourke's
now.
oldest
Do we
kid.
have
Oh,
a few
that's-
people? Brian?
That's
Thank you so
Rourke's
much,
daughter.
Gianna. Okay, I guess we're going now.
Yep, we're going
No,
now.
we're
Bye,
plugging the
everybody.
show. Okay.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks,
Thank
Ron,
you.
for
You're
showing
welcome,
up.
guys.
Bye, Ron.
Everyone have a good night.
You
Okay,
too. Everybody
okay,
get
see
rest.
y'all.
Get rest.
Ciao,
Okay.
ciao. Ciao.
Okay,
Thank you
bye.
for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye. Ciao.
Bye.
Au revoir.